more and more kids are going to international schools and aspiring to move overseas for education. And day by day, it is becoming increasingly difficult for students to settle, especially in countries like the US. And nowadays, we are seeing that trend even in Canada and Australia. And if you plan it well in advance, you not only achieve your immigration goal, but you can also end up saving a lot of money in tuition fees. He said, no, I'm not doing EB5 visa now. And, let my child go over there and let me see how he finds over there. And the same thing, what he has to pay 15 crores right now, we could have achieved that in just about 3.5 crores if he would have decided this about 3.5, about 4 years back. So you can imagine he must have saved at least $300,000 in terms of fees because he managed to get this PR well in time. So this is the situation. You can see both sides. If you decide well in advance in time, how you can benefit. If you delay it, then you have to pay the price.
Right. Financial planning is not just about how you manage your money, but also planning for your future goals and your family's future goals well in advance. In today's episode of Mint Money Talks, we'll be talking about overseas education and how immigration can play a critical role in ensuring your kids' education as well as the post-work career options for your child. Hi Paresh, welcome to the latest episode of Mint Money Talks.
Hi Josh, thank you for having me.
Right. So Paresh, tell us why this is important, why it is important to, to do this in a very time-bound manner, before it gets too late.
Absolutely, Josh. Nowadays, we are seeing the trend of more and more parents wanting to send their children overseas. We are seeing so many international schools are coming up. More and more kids are going to international schools and aspiring to move overseas for education, right? And typically, what happens is the parents spend a lot of time in planning the education, selecting the right university, appointing the counselors, picking up the universities, putting in applications, and they feel that once the child has got admission into an overseas university, a major milestone has been achieved, and rightly so. But then you have to look beyond that. What has been typically happening nowadays is once you complete your education, most of the children, they don't want to come back. They want to settle over there. And day by day, it is becoming increasingly difficult for students to settle, especially in countries like the US. And nowadays, we are seeing that trend even in Canada and Australia. So it becomes very important to plan how you will settle your children overseas after they complete their education. Well, they don't want to come back. They are not in a position to get a job. What do you do in that situation? Right? So that's the reason why you need to plan, and immigration is one tool through which you can achieve this objective. And if you plan it well in advance, you not only achieve your immigration goal, but you can also end up saving a lot of money in tuition fees.
Okay. So why should it be done, in advance? What's the risk if I, leave it a bit late? I mean, if I don't have the money now,
right,
and I end up doing a bit later, what's the risk?
Right. So typically, we have seen that most of the parents, when they send their children overseas, they don't think even about immigration. They just want the children to go over there. And the thought is, let my child go over there, let him complete his education, or let him start his education. Let us see if he wants to be there or not. Maybe he will come back. We are not sure. Right. But the fact is, even data shows that majority of the people do not want to come back. And then what happens once you complete your education, you are clearing your education, let's say take a case of US, you have completed your education, you get to work on OPT.
Yeah.
After that, if you want to continue to be in the US, you need an H1B visa. H1B visa has now become a lottery. And if you are lucky, you may get a lottery in the H1B visa. What happens after H1B visa? The pathway to getting a green card is very, very long. The traditional route of applying for EB2 or EB3 visa post your H1B. Through that route, the wait period is maybe 50 years or more. So even if you manage to get H1B, the chances of getting green card in your lifetime are reducing day by day. And that's the reason we are seeing a lot of people who are already on H1B visa also in the US applying for the EB5 visa to get a green card. As you know, EB5 visa is the US immigration program where you can invest $800,000 and get green card for the family. So now, instead of reacting on a situation, we have seen many parents come to us children are in the US, not able to get the job, want to settle over there, and now they decided to do the EB5. Right? At that stage, of course, you get a green card, but you miss out on a lot of other benefits.
And there will be a waiting period also. If you
There is a waiting period.
Right.
There is a waiting period. So if you apply for EB5 visa now, typically it may take you 2 to 3 years to get a green card. Of course, now with the change in rules, it's become easier for people who are in the US to get a work permit. We'll talk more about that in detail. But yes, I mean, typically processing of your green card once you apply, it takes about 2 to 3 years from India.
Right.
So again, you miss out on that.
Right. And also, I'm sure there is an age factor, like your kid may not get the benefit if he passes or she passes a certain age.
Exactly. So in most of this, immigration programs, we talk about the US EB5 visa, it covers a family. If you're making an application for the family, you can cover yourself, your spouse, and children up to 21 years of age. The children have to be 21 years of age when your application is approved. So typically, if you are, you should apply before your child turns 20.
Okay.
18 or 19 is ideal time. It's the latest when one can do it. Now, we have seen a situation, we have seen a situation, let's say, about 4 years back in 2018, 2019, that's when the EB5 visa became very popular in India, and we saw thousands of people rushing to file the EB5 visa applications. So at that point of time, we met a client whose eldest child was about 18 years of age, and he was going to US for further studies. The younger child was about 14 years of age. He was looking at doing EB5 visa. He spent a lot of time researching it, spending time with us, consulting, discussing. And at the last minute, he developed a cold feet. He said, no, I'm not doing EB5 visa now. And, let my child go over there and let me see how he finds over there. And then later on, I will decide. At that point of time, in 2019, you could do the EB5 visa for about 3.5 crores. Now, come back to, 22. His child had already completed his, graduation, and he was now struggling to get a job in the US because of, the job situation. And he had a 1 year OPT. He could not get a job in 1 year OPT, and now he wanted to stay back in the US. So the family approached me again. They wanted to do the EB5 visa for the elder son, as well as for the younger one who was now, about 18 years and planning to again go to US for further education. But the scene had changed completely now, because the eldest son had already crossed 21 years of age. So if he had to do an application to cover both, the children, the younger one as well as the elder one, he would have to make 2 applications. And now the investment amount has gone up to nearly 7 crores. So today, he faced a dilemma. Either he can do it only for the elder son or the younger one, or shell out about 15 crores to cover both of them. And the same thing, what he has to pay 15 crores right now, we could have achieved that in just about 3.5 crores if he would have decided this about 3.5, about 4 years back. So this is one situation of missed opportunities. Now let me tell you another story of another client, who did smart planning and acted on time, and how he benefited. So this client was evaluating between sending the child to US and Canada. Ultimately, he toured. He also had 2 children. One was about 17 years and other was about 15 years. So he went to US, Canada, visited various campuses, and finally decided that my son wants to go to Canada for his education. So his child got admission into the university. At that point of time, he decided to migrate to Canada through business immigration. And the process took about 2 years. Once he got his, Canadian PR, his fees for the elder son, the fees reduced considerably. He was paying some $60,000 every year. From that, it came down to $12,000, right? And the younger one, he decided to send the younger one also to the same university. And the younger one started this education with fees of $12,000 every year vis-a-vis $60,000.
Okay.
So you can imagine he must have saved at least $300,000 in terms of fees, because he managed to get this PR well in time. So this is the situation. You can see both sides. If you decide well in advance in time, how you can benefit. If you delay it, then you have to pay the price.
Right. And I think obviously the elephant in the room is the currency exchange. That also
affects. We have seen the rupee has been depreciating consistently against the dollars, and the more you delay, the more you will have to pay.
Right. And this 21 age threshold is just in US or other places also like Europe?
It's unique only to US.
Okay.
In case of Canada, you have to be, the age limit is 22 years.
Okay.
And you have to file your application. You not get approved.
Okay.
So by 22 years of age, you have to file the application.
Right. And in case of Europe?
Europe also, you have to be below certain age.
Okay.
The different countries have different programs. There is Portugal, there is Greece, etc.
Right.
You have to be below to a certain age. And in case of Europe also, if you go beyond the age, if you are a grown adult, if you are beyond 20 years of age, 21, 22, if you can prove that you are still dependent on your parents, you can be included in your golden visa application.
Right.
Likewise for Dubai. In case of Dubai also, your children can get, this included in your golden visa application.
And I think globally also we are seeing that the golden visa programs are going through a lot of changes, the residency programs. So that also is a good enough reason to do it sooner the better, right? Because
of course,
restrictions could come in any moment.
Exactly. The European programs we talk about somebody. Most of the Indians are planning to send their children to US and Canada and UK. UK is of course coming down now, and so is Australia. But first destination is US. And there are many people we are seeing are sending their children to Europe also now because the fees are relatively low over there. The only challenge is that you need to study the local language. If you're going to a place like Germany, then you need to learn German for education. But if you have the golden visa and you're covered, then if you go to that particular country like Portugal and Greece, these are the two countries which offer golden visa.
Right. Wherein in Greece the thresholds also went up recently.
Threshold has also gone up.
Required
investment amount has gone up. It has been going up consistently. In case of Portugal, they have done away with the real estate investment option. So the only investment option is the fund option where you have to invest 500,000 euros vis-a-vis 280,000 euros earlier. In case of Greece also, we have seen the investment amount going up, from 250,000 to 400,000 and 800,000 now.
Right. So these are getting costlier.
Things are getting costlier. Wait time is increasing because as these programs become popular, like we have seen with the EB5 US EB5 Visa program, the wait period for Indians way back in 2018-19, those who had filed was 4 years to 5 years.
Right.
Fortunately, under the new EB5 Visa program, they have got the special category of reserved visas, where they have carved out visas. So if you invest in those particular projects, certain kind of projects like the rural projects, for instance, not only your processing will be fast tracked, but you have certain special categories of visas available which will expedite your process. So that's the primary reason why more and more people are doing EB5 visa, even at a higher amount. Not only that, for students, especially for those who are on F1 visa, the EB5 visa program has become even more attractive now. Because you can now, if you are in the US on F1 visa or maybe even H1B visa, once you file your EB5 visa application, as we know, the processing time is about 2 to 3 years. But if you file it from the US, along with your EB5 visa application, you can also apply for your change of status. And in the process, you can also get your work permit and a travel permit almost immediately. So after filing your EB5 visa, you file for these permits and you get it in about 4 to 6 months. So once you have your travel permit and a work permit, with the work permit, you can work freely in the US wherever you want. You don't need any sponsor, you don't need any dependent. Even if your F1 visa is expired, even if you don't have a job, even if your OPT is over, you can still continue to be on the US with that employment authorization and work freely wherever you want.
Or keep hunting for job if you haven't.
Of course, if you have not got the job, you can stay there, you can keep looking out for the job. It gives you a right to continue living in the US. Right? And that's the reason why we are seeing increasing number of parents from India looking at doing this EB5 visa for their children who are studying in the US. But if you plan it well in advance, instead of reacting to the situation, that now I need the EB5 visa, my son wants to stay or daughter wants to stay in the US and I need to do EB5 visa for them. If you act proactively, if you plan in advance, then there are many benefits. For instance, if you decide to do it before your child, if you are, know that your child wants to go to US and ultimately wants to settle over there, then you can apply for the EB5 visa well in advance for the entire family. In this way, with a single investment, the entire family will get covered. Plus, if you get a green card before you start your education in the US, you have better chances of admission to the US universities. Most of the students from India are vying for admission to the top universities like Ivy League, etc. That's a dream for everybody. But then the number of seats available for international students in these universities is limited. And you have people, best of the brains from all over the world competing for that limited number of seats. Now, if you are a US resident, you don't have to fall in the international quota. You are in the local quota where there are more seats available. So chances are you may be able to secure admission into your dream university. And not only that, because being a local student, you don't have to pay international fees. You will get the benefit of in-state tuition fees, which is almost, maybe anywhere 30 to 60% lower than the international fees. Right? So these are the benefits of starting early, planning well in advance.
Right. And these kind of benefits would also be available if you have a PR of other places also, right? I think if you are a resident.
Exactly. I just give you an example of that other client from Canada.
Yeah.
He has saved so many thousands of dollars by planning it well in advance.
Right. Great, Paresh. Any parting thoughts for, our viewers? Why parents should be really particular about, immigration, especially if they are looking at overseas education?
Right. Yeah, my whole, advice would be that nowadays it is becoming increasingly difficult to continue staying in the US or Canada or any other country. Job situation is difficult. And, if you want your child to prosper in that country, settle there, and not only settle, live tension-free, prosper, focus on his career, then it is advisable to see how you can get him a green card or a permanent residency in that particular country. And you should spend as much time studying about these options as you spend on looking at what are the various universities where he can go. Think beyond that. Think life beyond university, what it will be like, and prepare for the same.
Right. Thanks a lot, Paresh. That was all the time we had for today's episode. For more such interesting content, keep watching Mint.